if anybody's listening to this podcast and they're Christian or maybe, trying to find their way there in the business world, in the technology world, just look at every decision you make and just say, Jesus is my CEO. I don't care if my title's CEO, I'm not the real CEO. And we're just a vessel here on earth to do his will and do it as best you can.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders in Tech, where we're shining the light on leaders in technology that are pushing this world forward with benevolent technologies and the people that make it happen. Today we have with us somebody very special. His name is Kevin. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, David. Really happy to be here.
Kevin, can you give me your full name? I know it's Fafinski, but I don't know how to pronounce it. So give me your full name. Where do you live and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, no, you did a great job. My name is Kevin Fafinski. I live in Minnesota, just southwest of Minneapolis. And I own a company called Liberty Security and Technology. And we're a managed service provider. So we do business-to-business IT support as well as cybersecurity. We essentially act as the outsourced IT department for small, medium, and even sometimes large companies.
Excellent. How long have you been in business, Kevin?
Since 2020 is when we started. So started Liberty Security Technology in 2020, and then did great there for about 2 years, and then decided to expand through acquisition. So we bought a company that was kind of run a little more immaturely, I would say, from a managed service standpoint, but a good profitable business that was doing good work for customers. And that's located in Rochester, Minnesota. And so now we're actively working on rolling the two together, and we're doing good work and kind of, exploding into other markets right now.
That is amazing to hear, Kevin. Because you said you had 2 good years there, and those were the worst years in the economy because of COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we had our fair share of challenges, definitely.
Did you open your company during the pandemic or just before? Tell me how this happened.
Yeah, so I'd kind of been thinking about it for a long time. I always wanted to own my own company. It's just always been a part of me. And so we started in July of 2020, and so it was a little bit after like shutdowns and that kind of stuff during COVID, but we're still kind of in the thick of it. Everybody was still working at home and that kind of thing, which I think helped us a lot right away because nobody really expected us to have an office space, right? So we could work out of our homes and it helped us feel like a very mature, formed company already, even though we didn't even have office space yet, that kind of thing. So anything to keep those expenses down right when you're starting out, right?
There is nothing greater than getting your first crisis early in your career, in your business, because it makes you very resilient. The issue is in business that you're going to have crises. And I know so many entrepreneurs that, especially in technology, right? I'm talking about tech entrepreneurs, that everything is fine when they start their business. They probably get funded with a lot of money, and their sales start rolling in. Their profits are great. First year is amazing. Second year is incredible. And then something happens with the economy, and they don't know how to survive in a harsh situation, and they go out of business.
Yeah.
See, for example, in my case, I was similar to you. I didn't have a crisis per se externally, but when I started my business, I knew nothing about marketing, nothing about sales. I only knew about technology and leadership, and that's how I got started. So it was very hard for me to get the company going. To give you an idea, I started myself, and it took at least 3 months to get somebody else part-time. And the company grew very slow. Like the first 2 years, maybe we went like 2-3 people. It was almost like self-employment until little by little took off. And then when it started to take off, 2008 hit. And that financial crisis, I remember I had a large contract that was already signed. I was just waiting for the payment, for the first initial payment. And they called us and said, sorry, we're going to have to to not honor the contract because with all our funding got lifted because of the crisis.
Yeah.
But because I started so slow and I was so careful with my budget, I was able to thrive through that financial crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we got lucky in our industry because, when you send the entire workforce home for an extended period of time, there's a lot of IT stuff that has to, come with that. So we got lucky with that, but it was hard. Everyone was a little uncertain, especially with like a pandemic. It's like nobody knew, how that would end or anything. So it was like, yeah, we were very nervous, and there were times when we would talk to people and they were like, "Hey, I love what you guys are doing and stuff, but like I don't know what the future looks like, so we can't sign up with you." And it was like, okay, those are tough ones to hear, and then but finally, you kind of get some people that get in and trust you more, and then they're like, they take the leap with you, and then it's good, and you kind of grow that way. But yeah, no, you're right. In the first like year or two, and you're like, wow, this is easy. Business is easy. And then it hits, or if you have to go through an expansion or hire people, and then you're like, yeah. But no, I was a lot like you, and my background was in sales and leadership, and then I didn't know anything about accounting or anything like that, or paying taxes and all of that kind of stuff that you just have to kind of learn along the way as you're an owner, right? So it was an interesting ride to try to grow the company and be kind of that main point of contact for a lot of our clients, as a salesman. But then at the same time, it's like, it's 2:00 in the morning and I'm watching YouTube videos on how to do proper accounting. You know what I mean? So it's
and you know what? I admire your boldness, because to be honest, there is no training, no schooling that will get you ready to run your own tech enterprise. Notice that I'm saying tech enterprise because it's different from any other kind of business. When you have traditional businesses, a lot of the times you have a formula because they've been around for hundreds of years. But when you have a tech enterprise, technology evolves every month, and every year the changes faster. So by the time you're starting to offer a service, you have to start learning what the new service you're going to offer later because it's already being disrupted.
Yeah.
So there is no schooling. I mean, there is like, even if you were a chartered accountant and a PhD in computer science, you will never be ready to run a tech enterprise.
It's 100% correct. And a lot of it too, you almost, like, I've learned some lessons about how to run a business almost after it was too late, right? Where it's like, oh, you're already behind on this thing. And it's like, wait, I didn't even know this existed. I got to wrap my head around what it is. And then, you have to go. And it's just, so yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's just a lot of learning on the fly. And I completely agree. I think there's nothing in the world that can prepare you for it.
I'm talking about that. It's funny because I had a repeating number in my phone, and I am a born again Christian, as you know.
Yes.
I think you share my same faith. And
Absolutely.
this is not a religious podcast. This is a technology podcast. But talking about that, I keep seeing repeating numbers, and the number 1111 just showed up in my phone. And when I was in prayer a while ago, I asked the Lord, what does that mean? Because I kept getting it. And now that we're actually talking about this, and 1111 showed up in my phone, the Lord is telling me that what you guys are talking about is about faith.
Yeah.
Hebrews 11:11 says that even Sarah, being almost 100 years old, conceived a child because of her faith.
Yeah.
Sarah was the wife of Abraham, and Abraham was about 110 years old, and they couldn't conceive, but the Lord promised to have a baby. So they kept waiting in faith for many years until it happened. Yeah. Supernaturally. And that's what a tech entrepreneur needs to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to have faith to get going, knowing that everything is going to get disrupted very often, and that the odds are always against you. But if you have faith that you can make it, and you have the energy to invest in the time and the research, you will make it happen. And you are a clear example of that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And it is funny. Like you said, we both share the same faith, and I've tried to intermix that with my business, and it's something you can't get away from. It's all intertwined, and we're all just soldiers doing God's will. So you do have to put the trust in him a lot. And I've been in prayer and thanking the Lord for opportunities in business, and I've been on my knees asking him to help me with problems that I've been facing, and it's like it's like Jesus is a shareholder for me or something.
It's funny, a very senior entrepreneur, very successful, once told me, once I got Jesus as my CEO, everything started changing.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I love that.
But that though, Kevin, you have to renounce all the material aspirations. For example, have incredible wealth or abundant wealth just for the sake of figuring out that you can actually do it.
Right.
Or to get people to praise you. You have to kill your narcissism, and you have to kill your desire for material possessions if you want to get Jesus as your CEO. Now, the interesting part that happened to me, though, is that once I actually did that and I surrendered my businesses to the Lord, which just happened 2 years ago, and I've been in business for almost 20 years, I started growing more. And I started getting more financial abundance. But it didn't affect my emotional state anymore, because I knew it was the Lord's money, and I'm looking for ways to give it back in a way that he wants me to give it back, the way that you said it. We're just soldiers doing the Lord's will, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. If you kind of take that, it makes some things easier from a stress level too. If you kind of look at it and you're like, I'm not in charge here. I'm just doing what the Lord wants me to do, or whatever. And I think that it's comforting when you're going through hard times too.
And that was my frustration most of my business life in technology. It was thinking that I was in control.
Yeah.
And thinking that it was only me and nobody else, because that gets you lonely. And once you're lonely, what you do is you look for human wisdom, which I did, which is help a little. But then you hit another obstacle and you realize that even with the human wisdom, you cannot get it done. And it's just the Lord the Lord putting obstacles in your life so that you can look for him. And once you realize that there is no human or yourself that can really help you out to be successful, that once you realize that the entire world is the Lord's and everything that is in it, and to him the gold belongs and the silver belongs, and he gives it to whoever he wants. Once you realize that and you surrender yourself to your creator, everything changes. Your stress goes away. For me, in my case, because it was the Lord's will to get more prosperous, I started prospering more. And ideas and opportunities are coming because the Lord is planting those ideas in my brain. But it's not because I read a self-help book or I read, a 0 to 1 startup book, or, I read over 100 business books in technology, and they help, but they just help a little. If you see actually my business and my strategies, none of that came from all the books that I read. I just wasted a lot of time. In human knowledge. You know what I mean?
Well, and the interesting thing too is, in the industry that we're in with technology changes all the time. It's just, you'll be doing something one way, and then it's like, oh, there's a better way to do it. And, now things have changed. And we rely on a lot of third-party companies that, we don't have a lot of control over what they do. We may be reselling their products or whatever. And it's like, you just have to be on your toes all the time in this industry, always being able to see what the best, business standard practice for anything would be. And then, as I always have felt that I have a fiduciary responsibility to my clients, when you're dealing with technology and personal data and all of that stuff, it's like, you want to make sure that the solutions that you're offering are actually the best thing for them. Right. And sometimes you have to go back and change those things, right? You might set somebody up one way with something, and then 5 years later, it's completely different, So being on your toes, and like you were kind of talking about with the business changing, and it's like, especially that's applicable in the technology industry.
For sure. Kevin, what was it that got into you? Okay, so what were you doing before you started your business?
So I was in the same business. I was just working for somebody else. And so I came back from college in 2016, and then I was in sales, in IT sales, managed service provider sales since then. And then, so worked there for 4 years and then broke off and did my own thing. So my whole professional career has been in this industry.
that was one of the smartest things that you could ever done, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be successful in business, I truly believe that what you first have to do is get hired by the industry that you want to operate in.
Yeah.
And go get trained while you're actually doing a job. Mm-hmm. And then once you know how the industry works and what's the in and out, then you will have a much greater chance to be successful in your own business.
Yeah. And I was very lucky too, because the owner of the company I worked at, he was a salesman by trade too. And, so he really helped me and mentored me and showed me how to do this job and everything like that. And so it was, not only was I just learning on the fly, but felt like I was getting coaching along the way, which was you talk about good leadership, it's like making your employees better at what they do and everything like that. So, there's a lot of luck involved there as well, but yeah, so I try to carry that with me and do that with my employees as well. So kind of
I don't call it luck anymore. I think it's a blessing. Psalm 139 says that before you were created, the Lord wrote a book about you, and every page describing what you're going to do on this earth, going back to the soldier mentality. So, you got a job, you get out of college. Why you got the job that you get? And then once you were in that job, why did you get the boss that you got that was so nice to you to mentor you, right? Yeah. Because if those things didn't happen, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
This podcast is brought to you by ISU Corp. Are you having trouble with your software projects? Is there a project that's taking too long or a technology you can't handle? We can help. We are ISU Corp, experts in custom software since 2005. With almost 20 years of experience, we can solve any technical problem from new businesses to satellite software. We've done it all. Let us turn your ideas into reality. Learn more about how we can help by visiting us at www.isucorp.ca. Your solution starts here.
So it's just a blessing. And by the way, the bad things that happens in your life is also a blessing too. In fact, I am truly of the belief that the only way to grow is through hardship and problems. Because if you know how to solve something and it's easy for you, you're going to have an easy time, but you're not growing. But if you get into a situation where you have no idea how to figure it out and it's harming you, you'll figure it out pretty quickly or you go out of business, right? Yeah. And both of them will give you a great lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're totally right. And you learn more and grow more from your mistakes, not from your wins, like you were saying. And I've definitely felt that, it's every business owner makes mistakes. It's how you deal with those mistakes and how you learn from them. You can kind of go with it and be like, all right, I made a mistake. Let's learn from this. How do we grow? Let's get better, and let's never do that mistake again. Or you could just blame other people and blame other things, and then you're never going to grow. You're always going to be stuck in that mindset.
For sure.
Yeah.
Going back to our faith, you and I are in technology, and you know that software is very different from hardware, and without the software, a computer will be just a box, that maybe just a paper holder.
Yeah.
And I explain this to people because when they talk about faith and believing in God, and especially in Jesus Christ, it's like, how can you believe in something that you don't see? And then I tell them, how can you operate a word processor that you don't know where it is?
That's great. I like that analogy. I'm going to steal that one from you.
Right?
Yeah.
For me, computer science got me closer to God because, my specialty is writing software. I started as a software developer when I was 16 years old, and then I became an architect and grew into a leader in technology. But the more I went into writing code and realizing that this thing will get compiled, and somehow when I push a button, this thing actually launches in RAM, and now it's something that somebody can use, and it could be extremely useful for this person.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the software?
Yeah.
Right? That is electricity that is making the zeros and one, because it's all based on a binary code, right? Unless you have a quantum computer now that has 8 bits.
Yeah.
But everything is the same thing, right? It's a theory. Basically, as humans, we were able to create this is our thinking inside a computer. Because if you look at your brain, scientists haven't been able to figure out how we actually generate our thoughts. And without thoughts, we have nothing, because our hardware is our human body, but our software is our thoughts, and our thoughts direct our entire life.
Yeah.
You cannot, the scientists haven't been able to quantify a thought. They know the parts of the brain that get, light and not based on emotions or on thinking. And we're doing great, discoveries there. But nobody knows what thought is. Yeah. What is your thoughts? How come your brain produces thoughts that give you meaning? How can you analyze through the retina of your eyes the image that is in front of you, or the sound waves that go through the microphone 1,000 miles away from you into a Google meeting, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible. So life itself, the technology of life, cries out the glory of our Creator.
Yeah, and kind of like you said, like you can't discover what thoughts are, or you can't quantify that, and it's like, yeah, because it's in a way it's divinely inspired. It's not supposed to be, we're created in God's image, So why would we have access to that in other people,
Yeah, and I always tell people that too, right? Especially people have a hard time believing in spirituality. I tell them, this chair that you're sitting on, somebody thought about it first.
Yeah.
The clothes that you're wearing, somebody had to thought about them and make an action. And now if you go to the beginning of our Bible, the book of Genesis, it was exactly the same way. The Lord says, let's make man according to our image, right? According to our own image. But God is one. So why is it plural? Because it's God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit all in one. And then I realized that we have the Trinity in us too, right? We're humans. We have a body, we have a soul, and we have a spirit, made exactly in God's image.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's all true. And yeah, and I like to talk to people a lot about faith, and just you see, just kind of going off on a tangent here, you see a lot of pain in the world right now, and it doesn't need to be that way, and so I really try to use my position to just be able to bring people closer to that, right? And I think that's important, and that's what you do as well. I mean, we're on a business tech podcast right now, and you're still talking about God, and I think that's good, and I think people need to do more of that.
If people have the blessing to listen to this entire podcast, they'll realize that we're talking about technology.
Yeah.
But we started with the most important tech, how we were made and how we operate, how the human being works. All human beings does, all our discoveries, our creations is based on what we observe in the natural world. Yeah. If you look at airplanes, they look like birds, right? Yeah. Everything that we have invented, computers, right? It's a technology podcast. Going back to software and hardware, right? Yeah. They're just trying to replicate how the brain works. If you look at AI, they are called neural networks. Why? Because basically we're trying to replicate how our neurons in our brain works to form thought and to create self-learning, and that's what we're building inside a computer. Yeah. And we're just replicating what is already being built by whom? By the biggest architect, by the Creator, the one that is outside space and time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All we got in this reality, in the universe, in the world that we live in, is matter, space, and time. It's a trinity too. You realize that? It goes into space. And it's technology, right? If you didn't have matter, you wouldn't be able to experience space and time. If you wouldn't have space, right? How would you go about moving inside that matter, right?
Right.
You wouldn't need time, because time is what you use to go from point A to point B.
Right.
And if you wouldn't have time, you wouldn't be able to have consciousness to experience matter and space. You see?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's incredible, right?
It is.
The one that made all this had to be outside of this. So the dimension of our Lord Jesus Christ is outside of space-time. This realm that we call space-time, where we can experience our life, has to be done by somebody that is outside of this. The same way that you make a computer, you supply computer services. You are not inside of the computer. Somebody made the computer, somebody else wrote the software, and you maintain it, but you are outside of the computer. Then the computer runs by itself.
Yeah.
So we are actually behaving like our creator. We are outside of the realm of the computer system, and the computer system can run by itself once you have an operating system and software that can run.
Yeah.
So our creator is outside of space-time, outside of matter, because he created it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a different dimension. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is. It really is. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's amazing that you started your business only 4 years after graduation. Did you go to college for computer science, or what did you do in college?
No, so I went to Arizona State University, and I majored in economics. So I get a little help from that major, for sure, in what I do. But no, I was never really hands-on in the tech. I've learned enough to be dangerous, on how all that stuff works. But my background was always sales. But in order to sell something, you got to understand it, right? And you got to learn about what that product is. So I definitely I got down and dirty with a lot of computers and systems and different softwares in order to be able to learn what they do and that kind of thing. So so I picked up enough along the way, but I'm smart enough to understand that there are people out there that are way better at this than me and smarter than me, and so I always hire people who are better than me.
So Kevin, you just gave the secret to a successful technology business, because I was the exact opposite from you.
Okay.
I was a computer scientist in love with computer science, which I'm still in love with, by the way.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how to sell, how to market.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of those soft skills.
Yeah.
And that's why I struggled so long. I struggled for at least 5 years on my business, until I had to acquire those skill sets. What I should have done is hire somebody that was an excellent sales and marketer person,
Sure.
so that I could actually thrive in this. Like I think I could have grown faster. Having said that, though, I truly believe the Lord wanted me to become an exceptional technology sales and marketer, because that's what I am now, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not even that anymore, because I'm retired.
Yeah.
They all run. They also manage. I hire people. I finally learned the lesson that you said. I hire smarter people than me to run my company. So I have technology people running my companies and business people running my companies.
Yeah.
And now I'm experiencing this exponential growth. All I do is provide the vision, and I work with them to build this future, and then they go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
So I give them the vision of the future, and they actually execute.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you are a technologist, a leader in technology that wants to venture into business, it's a hard decision to make, because the minute you do that, either you have to partner with somebody that does the sales and marketing, or you have to grow that skill. In my case, I actually had the talent already in me. I was, without knowing, I was a very extroverted person. I thought I was introverted because I was behind a computer desk all my life. But as soon as I started learning the skills, I realized that, I was very good at communicating, very good at networking, very good at translating, technologies into business cases for business owners.
Mm-hmm.
But most people's cases is either you're a great technologist and you're a great leader in technology, or you're a great business person. If you do half and a half, you can do it, but you will never be as successful as you should be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I think it's easy to, as a CEO, you kind of understand that the world is on your shoulders, right? That you're in control of destiny of your business and everything. And it's really easy to just keep piling on and being like, oh, I don't know how to do accounting or sales and marketing. So you're like, I'll just learn it. I'll just learn how to do it. But then it takes you away from that you're good at.
once I had